Right. Welcome everyone on the Saturday morning. Thank you for taking time to join us on the orientation webinar for Safe Raw Tech Challenge. We have multiple members from WRI team. We have Vaibhav Kush and Advait Jani from WRI India team. We have Mohit Kaur and Varun Vij from Nagaro team. Vaibhav and Advait will be starting with why we are doing this webinar, why we are doing this hackathon and challenge, the objective behind it, and what is expected out of this hackathon. We will end up with Q&A, and you can ask all your questions, everything. Over to you, Vaibhav.
Thanks, Prakash. Welcome everyone, and thank you for registering to our Safe Road Tech Challenge. I'm Vaibhav Kush. I'm from WRI India. I'll very quickly go over what WRI is, what WRI India is, what we work on, and then we'll move on to about our project, our donors, and why we are doing this challenge, what we expect from the challenge. So WRI basically it's the World Resources Institute. We are a global research organization that spans over 70 countries, and we have offices in Brazil, China, India, Indonesia, and United States. And we have over 1,000 experts and staff who work closely with leaders to turn big ideas into action to sustain our natural resources. That's the foundation of economic opportunity and human well-being. So that's the overall, what WRI as a global organization works on. In India, we have programs like, again, cities and transport. How do we improve the transportation systems in our cities, housing, and all that. So we have been in India for the past 1 decade. So that's WRI. I'm Vaibhav. I have Advait Jani with me. We both work in the cities and transport team. Our area of work mostly focuses on road safety, how to make our streets, our roads safer for all road users. That's the main area of work. And the Botnar Child Road Safety Challenge is one of the flagship projects of our team. The first phase was where we were looking at improving the commute for school children. That started in 2018 till 2020. And this phase of the project, the second phase of the project, is where we are focusing on colleges, college students. So that's the Safer Mobility for Youth project. Yeah, and the target stakeholder group is basically 18 to 25 years age group people. These are citizens who start driving themselves. About the project, the Botnar Child Road Safety Project, under which we are doing our this Safe Road Tech Challenge. It's divided into 2 phases. The first phase was where we were focusing on improving the safety of children, school-going children. The second phase is where we are focusing at improving the commute and experience of the commute for youth. That's the 18 to 25 age group, which is basically the college going students. That's where our focus is at, to improve their safety and mobility, and that is where we wanted to get into this tech challenge. This idea came from there only, that if we are improving the safety of youth, it is best that the youth come up with the solutions, because they know their problems best and they can come up with those solutions best. So that was the idea behind launching the Safe Road Tech Challenge. We have 3 themes this time. So the tech challenge is basically being done twice in the next 1 year. This is the first iteration, and after we finish the first iteration, we'll have another round of challenge, maybe around October or November. So in the first session of in the first iteration, we are focusing at improving the. There are only 3 themes, and there are 2 more themes that we can look into in the second iteration. So I'll hand over to Advait. He'll just give you a brief about what road safety is, different aspects of road safety and urban mobility. That's basically where the theme is and what we will be looking into this time.
Hi everyone, this is Advait here. Unfortunately, because of bandwidth issues, we're not able to have our video switched on, but I hope you can hear me clearly. And what I'll do is I'll just run through a very short presentation on reimagining Rohtak. So someone can just confirm, are you able to see the PowerPoint screen?
Yes, we can.
The reimagining Rohtak, perfect. All right, so basically I would like to just run through on, as Vaibhav mentioned, what we are expecting out of the competition, but also what we expect out of Rohtak city also, and how we and the officials here are trying to reimagine the way the city can be, basically moving away from the status quo and to see what is the potential we can explore in terms of sustainable mobility and road safety. So I'm just going to start with the presentation here. The first slide. Basically, I want to start with this quote from a visionary, Albert Einstein, and where he had mentioned the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, but expecting different results. And this sort of, for me, summarizes what happens or what is rather happening in Indian cities right now. We end up doing the same thing over and over again, irrespective whether we know it's the wrong thing, but we end up doing because no one wants to do anything different. But somehow we think that by doing the same thing, we'll expect new results or a new outcome, and that's never going to be the case. The reason why I wanted to bring this up is because I feel the way technology has developed over the years, that could be the thing that can break this chain, and that could be the new difference that the city needs, so that we can have a much better result. And I think this is what we expect sort of from our participants, to bring about a change in the way our systems work, and in the way our cities would now be grown or developed in the future. So I'm just going to run through the thing of being the same. What is it that I meant by doing the same thing over and over again but expecting different results? And I'm going to run through it in terms of something that we face on a daily basis, and I'm quite sure every one of you faces this every single day, and that's basically of traffic and congestion. The thing is, every city seems to have this problem, but the solution generally tends to be the fact that let's build more roads. Either let's widen the roads, or let's build a flyover, or let's build an underpass. And that generally has been the solution always in India. I think every big city in India has done this. Most governments, most politicians feel very proud of these sort of solutions where trees are cut down, roads are widened, more lanes are added, either flyover, sometimes in cities double flyovers are added. But of course we tend to forget that this leads to basically more crashes. It also leads to loss in public spaces. So most Indian cities, the kind of green cover that we used to have in the 80s and 90s is completely lost because we end up building more road space. Also, there is the loss to the city in terms of social and economic value because there is going to be a lot of relocation. of people, where these flyovers or roads are being widened. But there's also an economical loss because people do not like to live in cities, where it is hard to walk or hard to cycle. A good example being Gurgaon, where roads are being widened and widened, and all it has led to is more traffic jams and more pollution. And we are back to the same thing. The circle is sort of, we are in the vicious circle, and that seems to go round and round with without, and it just gets bigger rather. And as I said, we have more pollution, we have more time wasted in traffic jams, we have more frustration. So road rage cases have actually increased in India quite a bit, especially in cities like Delhi, Gurgaon. Road rage is the highest because the simple fact is because they have more roads and more vehicles there. And in terms of for the officials, while they may think that yes, road widening helps, the reality is their workload only increases because there are just more private vehicles. And just to reiterate, this is where we think these participants and this tech challenge can make a difference, is through technology, how can we break this vicious circle? And we need to seriously sort of think in these terms. This is just a very simple graph of what it means. When I said why does traffic increase so much with roads, this is just to show how much basically every single vehicle, the space that is used up by vehicles and versus the carbon emission given by the vehicle. So you can clearly see, when we build our cities with focus around cars, what you get is, a lot of space that is taken over by cars. But the number of people that are traveling is very low, because in a car you probably have one person or maybe two people traveling, not more than that, versus a bus where you have around 50 to 60 people traveling, but the area per person is much lesser. So you can clearly see, and also in terms of the pollution, the car is it's obviously the most polluting sort of vehicle compared to a bus. So there are clear drawbacks of having cities designed around cars and not designed around human beings. So one of the things, again, that we expect out of this competition is, to how can these technology solutions be human centric and not vehicle centric, but especially not car centric or private mobility centric. That is something which is how we can reimagine Rohtak to be. Just a quick thing on how we can go about having a more human centric city is basically through this safe system approach. This is globally now one of the more accepted systems of development because it takes care of multiple things. I'll just quickly run through. It looks into road engineering and design to make sure that how these streets that we are designing are safer for human beings, safer for kids, safer for people of all ages. Then there is, of course, law enforcement on how to use technology better for law enforcing agencies to manage the traffic, but also to enforce in terms of violations. There is education and capacity building. Again, in India, generally, road safety and mobility have been looked at, very simple point of view. But how can technology make a difference to them? That's something we need to think about. There is also vehicle design. Which of course I don't think we will be getting into in this particular phase of the competition, but it's something for participants to think about. Emergency also is very, very crucial. Everybody has heard about the golden hour and how lives can be saved if people are transported to the hospital within an hour of a crash or an injury. So again, how technology can play a big role in that. And finally, there is a sustainable mobility. If the simple thing is we need to encourage more and more people to walk and cycle and use more sustainable modes like shared mobility. However, there is a lot of issues in terms of data in most Indian cities. And I think Vaibhav will also be reiterating some of these points. But, how can technology, first of all, bridge that gap of, not having data? How can, cities use technology to collect much more refined data thereby then making informed decisions about sustainable mobility. The next thing, so this is sort of in a nutshell. I find this slide very interesting because that you can get to know a lot about the benefits of this safe system approach also. So this is in a nutshell on what we sort of are expecting out of this competition. I just want to show a few examples now of cities that are basically come out of that vicious circle that I had shown in the first slide. Basically, these cities have, yes, they have, some of them have used technology, but some of them have used the safe system approach, as I mentioned, to get out of the vicious circle of pollution, congestion, and the same thing repeating over and over again. This is a photograph of Utrecht in the Netherlands. It's a photograph, I think, from the 1970s. What you see is the main highway in the foreground, the 4-lane highway. It actually used to be a canal in the 1800s. And traffic engineers said, you know what, number of cars are increasing. Let's just, cover the canal, remove the water, and let's make it a highway that runs through the city instead. And that's what they did. Of course, in the 1970s, it seemed to work, but then they quickly realized that all it's doing is it's increasing the number of cars in the city center. The cars end up killing more people, and the cars end up polluting the landscape of the particular city. Last year, this is what they did. They removed the highway that ran right through the city and restored the canal. The value of properties has shot up exponentially here. The quality of life has improved substantially. And the bottom line is people now are so much more happier not having cars around and not having a highway run through here, and instead having a really nice canal where kids can play, where people can enjoy. Netherlands, of course, is not the only city. This is a photograph from Seoul in South Korea. Same thing, there used to be a canal earlier, but unlike Netherlands, these guys didn't remove the canal. They just built an elevated road over the river or over the canal, and that's what you see in the photos. The elevated road was around for 30 years or 35 years, I think, and they realized that it's not solved any problem for them. In fact, congestion had increased again. As you can see in this photograph, there's a lot of vehicles. Pollution had increased right in the city center, and noise level had also increased substantially. People were getting a lot frustrated because of these wide roads. 10 years ago, this is what they did. They demolished the entire elevated road and restored the canal. And this particular spot is the major attraction now for South Korea and Seoul. People visiting Seoul will always visit this particular stretch of the canal because it is such a vibrant space. It's high rises building everywhere. There are a lot of people that come here on a daily basis. And the canal is a major sort of recreational spot, not only for the people living there and working, but also for a lot of tourists that now come to Seoul. The last one I wanted to show, of course, was the car capital of the world. That's the United States. I think United States has the most number of cars per capita across any country. This is a photograph of the one of the elevated roads, a 6-lane highway that was running right through the city center in Boston. And same thing, the engineers thought, this is going to solve our traffic issues completely. Our city is never going to have any traffic problem. But of course, that was a very short-lived dream. Traffic congestion became the normal there. Again, pollution was the normal there. And they realized, okay, we need to get rid of this highway. And this is what they did. They got rid of the highway and they created a nice public space for the people and made sure that the cities are designed for people and not for vehicles. And I think this is where I want to end it. I hope these photographs are a good inspiration for the participants to look beyond, look beyond vehicles and make sure that tech solutions are human-centric. That's, I think, I want to really emphasize the fact that they have to be human-centric. They have to benefit us and not the cars. And I would like to end my presentation. And thank you so much for your attention and all the very best. And I'll now hand it over back to Vaibhav. Thank you, guys.
All right, so this is what basically road safety and sustainable cities and urban mobility comprises of. That's what the themes are. As Advait mentioned, there is not just so in the challenge we have mentioned road safety enforcement, engineering, and urban mobility, but there are so many other things to it. We are open to those ideas, we are open to those solutions, but we would prefer having enforcement, engineering, and mobility related solutions. A lot of the photographs also which Advait showed, so it is more about we know where do we want to reach, but we do not we are not able to change the status quo, and for that we definitely need technology, in the sense that there is one thing that there is a lot of data issue. We do not collect data at for a lot of points. Where we do collect data, we do not utilize them properly, or even if we are collecting data, we are not making informed decisions through the data. So that is one thing that participants can look into. What we are expecting at the concept node stage is basically your vision for the city, how your solution can change a particular, improve an issue. You identify what the issue is and how through technology you would be able to resolve that. If there are any data sets that are required, what are those data sets? Are they being collected? Are they not being collected? Are they publicly available, not available? How do you improve those data systems? What can be brought into those, what can be brought into the system to improve collection of data analytics, and then the use of that data. So data is one thing. Another thing that one can look into is how video analytics can be used in designing the streets, for example. This is what we had done in phase 1, where we would install our own cameras and through video analytics try to come up with a solution. We are, through the videos, we are able to deduce how many vehicles are traveling, what speed they are traveling at, and going to the people-centric thing. It's not just the cars on the roads. There are street vendors, there are pedestrians, there are cyclists, there are so many other users on a street than just cars. So we identify all of them, see how they travel, and accordingly try to improve our design. So in every city nowadays, CCTVs are a very common thing. We have a lot of government CCTVs as well. Police has their own CCTVs. So can you look into integrating all those video feeds? Can we do some analysis at the back end, and have the engineers get those analysis and design the streets accordingly? That was something then you can look into. So these are all road safety and street design related aspects. We can also look into, from the mobility aspect, we can look into things like having an app for maybe the public transport users. So I think I forgot to mention in the beginning, Rohtak is basically an educational town. There are over 150 colleges and schools in this small city, and which cater to over 2 lakh students. The average yearly enrollment in these educational institutions is about 2 lakh students. So a lot of them are, traveling from their home to colleges, hanging out at different places, but the only mode of transport available to them apart from their personal vehicles is the shared auto rickshaws, the tuk-tuks that we have in cities. That is the primary mode of transport in the city. That's the lifeline of the city, but it is a very chaotic system. There are more than 16,000 auto rickshaws in the whole city, but their coverages are very weird. I mean, only in the core city you will find a lot of auto rickshaws. The frequency would be less than 1 minute. But if you are living in the fringes, if you are living in the outskirts of the city, or if you want to travel to the outskirts of the city, it is very difficult to travel without your own personal vehicle. So how can you make the availability of public transport more accessible? How can we make it more available and reliable through technology? In Western countries, we have apps. Even in India, several cities have these apps where uh, the users can know when the next bus is coming or when the next auto is coming, and those sort of systems can be looked into. Again, I understand that these systems require a lot of data. Unfortunately, like most of our Indian cities, this data is not captured. So if you have an idea where you want to improve the mobility, access to public transport, for example, and you do not have access to a particular data, or you think that this data is not even collected in the cities, then that is something what we would like to know in the concept notes, that I want to improve the auto rickshaw systems through this technology, and these are the data sets that would be required. And this is your technological framework, your text skeleton would be needed in the concept note, that this is how you would be arriving at your solution. So from road safety / mobility aspect, we will see how feasible and how practical that solution is. And then Nagarro, our other partner who will be mentoring you in the technological aspects, coding and other things, they would assess your solutions on the technological practicality and feasibility of the solutions. So I think that's our idea of the challenge. Uh, One thing I would also like to mention before I hand over to Varun from Nagarro, that this is not an academic exercise. We are not looking at solutions which remain in a beta stage, for example, but we would like adoptable solutions. We have a partnership with the district administration of Rohtak and the Rohtak police. Uh, the solutions that you guys come up with, our intention is that those systems get adopted by the intended users. So if you are making the solution for the citizens, through the district administration, we would like to push it to get adopted by the citizens. Citizens start using those solutions. If it is for the police, for example, then we will reach out to the police, and uh, whatever is required to incubate it into an adoptable solution, we will have that discussion later on for the adoptable solutions. But the idea is to not leave it at a usable solution, but make it into a usable solution. So that was the idea. And over to you, Prakash, if you could introduce Varun.
Thank you, Vaibhav. Thank you for wonderful presentation and explaining what is really required and what the objective should be. Definitely, we don't want more cars. We want beautiful places, beautiful cities where we can live by reducing our carbon footprint. Moving on to the next one, we have Varun Vij from Nagarro team. He'll be presenting what Nagarro has for this hackathon and challenge. Over to you, Varun.
Thanks, Prakash. All right. First of all, can you please verify that you can see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Thanks, Prakash. So, first of all, a very warm welcome to all the participants. We are super excited to see your ideas, and we'll try our best to, take your ideas forward towards the adoption stage. Let me first introduce Nagarro. So basically, Nagarro is an IT services and digital product engineering company established in 1996. Right now, we operate from over 26 countries, and we have around 10,000 plus experts. So who are all there to support you to take your ideas forward. Not taking much time over Nagarro, quickly jumping on to the hackathon part. So let me review the evaluation parameters. So I believe you all must have gone through the evaluation criteria. So let's go over it again. So like mentioned, we'll be starting with a concept note. So you should be very concise and precise in your concept note. Only explain the most relevant and the highlights so that we can focus on your ideas. Second is the focus. You should focus on innovation. So basically, bring the novelty of your ideas in focus and accentuate on the innovation part. Third, let's research and validate our solution as per the need of the market. So that you should also take care while formulating an idea. Also, analyze the potential impact and try to quantify the benefits that your idea can bring to the system. Second, since we are starting from Rohtak, let's take into focus that the scalability of your idea. So we ideally want to extend this idea to a larger places. So that will give you more perspective in scaling or considering the scalability aspect of your ideas. And lastly, the practicality of the idea. So an innovative idea might not be of use, if it takes forever to build or it's too expensive to bring into use. So I would like you to go over the evaluation parameters and try to use that in while you describe your idea in your concept note. Going over to some of the best practices that we keep in mind while creating a high performance technical team. So first we start with a term like a two pizza team. So which ideally means is smaller teams consisting of 3 to 4 people are the best to work with in an agile space. Then do not try to reinvent the wheel. Try utilizing the libraries and the low-code platforms already available for a quick turnaround. Since we'll start with POC, then we'll start with a concept node, then a POC, then we'll try to bring that POC to an adoptable solution stage. Thirdly, when we build a team, know your team's best talents. So yeah. So understand your team's skill so that you can utilize your team skill to the best of their performances. So maybe if a person is good in analytical skills, you would like to give them the analysis and research part. If a person is good in prototyping or coding, you can just give him the task for a quick development. So just while you build your team, try to understand what's the best skills that you have got in your team. Next is try to use open source platforms, since open source platforms are usually more extensible since they are open source and they have better community support. So in case you are struck, there is a chance that somebody would have already faced the problem. So there is a chance that you will get a better support from the community while utilizing an open source platforms. There are a lot of public cloud providers like Amazon, Google, and Microsoft, of course. So a lot of advanced services are available in a ready-to-use form. and all of these provides free accounts for testing your products. Some are free for a month, some services are free for even a year. So you can utilize those platforms and try utilizing the advanced services that they provide. Next is use rapid prototyping tools, because we do not want you to focus on the implementation stage to start with. Our idea is to you guys to focus on the solution aspect. So try utilizing the rapid prototyping tools that are available. Next is, like I mentioned, focus on the solution, not the implementation. So first validate your solution using a POC, and then jump into the next level aspects of optimization or optimizing your code. Next, create and stick to a timeline, since this is a time-bound activity. So you should ideally time-bound all your activities so that you are aware if you are jumping the deadline. And last, ask for help. So when you create a timeline, you should also decide that if you are approaching a timeline and are not getting a solution for any of the problem that you are struck with, then ask for help within your team or outside the team, where Nagarro can help as well. Coming on to the how Nagarro can help in this hackathon. So we'll surely provide mentorship in bringing your solution from concept to implementation stage. So this could be technical, functional, and we'll try to bringing the experts. We have a lot of Center for Excellence that work across technology areas. So we'll try to provide as much guidance and mentorship as we can from the Nagarro aspect. The guidance would include a tech guidance, where we'll work with you to identify the best technical tools and libraries so that you can quicker your development. We'll also support you in improving the technical feasibility so that we can reduce the time to market of your solution. We'll also provide a platform support like cloud services or hosting to the shortlisted POCs for final enhancements. We'll bring in our expertise in scaling and performance optimizations for the solutions. We'll try to support you with our experience that we have acquired while developing IT solutions for various industries, so that we can implement the best practices that we have while bringing your solution to an adoptable stage. And finally, while bringing the solution to an adoption stage, there are a lot of different methods that we can package an end product. There could be a different models. So we'll try to identify the right model for software deployment and usage for the final adoptable solution that we have. So hopefully we will be able to help the participants. Finally, best of luck, and we are very excited for our conversation. So back to Prakash and Vaibhav.
Thank you, Varun. This was really detailed and what the candidates can expect, and really good support we'll be expecting from Nagarro side for the candidates in scaling the solution they're building. And I really appreciate you putting it very aptly what is required for the candidate at each stage, so that they don't deviate from what they need to do. Let them focus on exactly on the concept node first, then going to the POC round and scalability and everything. So we'll take some questions if anyone has any. Otherwise, as Varun has mentioned, after the concept node stage, there will be one-on-one mentoring available for everyone based on the selected ideas. Over to you, Vaibhav, to take some questions.
Yeah, thanks. Guys, please do put in your questions in the chat box. And one thing we'd like to reiterate, there are a lot of resources that we have put on the challenge platform. A lot of them are WRI resources. Please go through them. You will have you'll get to know more about urban road safety, urban mobility. We'll also keep putting in Rohtak data as we get in, because this is an active project, it's a live project. There is a lot of data that gets collected. So depending on your concept notes, as and when we get data, we'll keep uploading that. We have one question, maybe Prakash, you could answer that. Do we have any place to connect with the mentors like Slack or Teams, etc.? Rohit is asking.
So right now, once we have the teams ready, we'll create a Slack channel or a Discord channel, which we'll be sharing with the final teams, where we will have people from WRI and Nagarro to assist. Once we reach that stage, we'll be informing everyone.
Yeah, and other than that, I think we might be having some online sessions for a few of the selected, shortlisted solutions. But at the same time, please keep posting any issues that you are facing with respect to the technology related, coding related, mentorship from the point of view of any help you need from WRI, Scalenza or Nagarro. Please do post your questions on the platform. We are able to access everything that you post there, so we'll collate them and answer them as frequently as possible. We have another question from Parth. Should the concept note be strictly under 500 words? Varun, if you could take this one up. I'll just briefly say this, that there are a lot of concept notes that are coming, that would be coming in. More than 500 words, it will be difficult for us to assess also, and we need you to be very precise. As Varun also mentioned, you need to be to the point about what you want to do in your solution. Varun.
Right. As you mentioned, Vaibhav. So, we'll not be counting word to word like 500 words, but we would like you to be precise. And we believe that an idea can be explained in around 500 words. So, yes, let's try to be precise so that, we have equal opportunity for all the teams and try to stick to the word limit.
Okay, we have one more question. Should the concept note just stick to the solution, or do we need to get into details of the technical implementation as well? So Parth, the idea is, right now we want to understand what the solution is. I do not think you need to go into too much of technical implementation, but a skeleton would be required. It can't be just a vision for the city, or just a goal, but how do you actually reach that goal? Again, Varun, I would like you to pitch in if there is anything else.
Right. That's correct, Vaibhav. So we would require a bit more than the idea or the solution. I would not ask you to write, the complete implementation or how you would code or what libraries you would use, but we'll definitely want, how you are envisioning to solve that challenge using technology. So at least that aspect we would require as part of concept note.
Does that answer your question, Parth? You could just write in. Got it. All right. If there are no other comments, should we close this, Prakash? I have not received any other questions.
Yeah, we are good to go. That should be fine. If required,
All
we
right.
can connect. If we get more questions from participants, we can do a small session again sometime.
Sure, not an issue. If you guys have any other questions, comments, please put it on your challenge platform. We'll get back to you. And thank you so much for everyone. Thank you, Nagarro. Thank you, Scalenza.